Hi, I'm Antonio Centeno, the founder of Real Men Real Style, and today I'm going to be talking about confidence and where does it come from. All right, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. By doing that, these videos will come right to you. In addition, if you like this, if you find it useful, please like the button right down there. And finally, I'm going to link you to an article which is going to expand on what I'm talking about. In addition, I'll link you to my free 47-page ebook, which gets a lot more into men's style and that kind of stuff. So, make sure to click on it down below. All right, let's jump into this. I've received quite a few questions about confidence and where does it come from. I've even had a few people ask me, where do I get the confidence to stand in front of the camera and to talk to you guys about men's style and a few other issues. So I thought I would just give you my personal experience and where I draw my confidence from. Now, I think this is important, and even though primarily I talk about men's style, I want you guys to understand that men's style and clothing is really not that important. I mean, and that's coming from a custom clothier and a guy that sells clothing for a living. But to me, I look at it, it simply is a reflection of your inner self. Because if you're hollow and you're empty inside, then none of this matters. You're just an empty suit. You're an empty sports jacket. You're an empty guy in a good-looking sweater. Because you need to, the clothing, it just amplifies what you already are. You need to have a great message, and you need to know who is that inner core. And the clothing is just a microphone. It's just going to allow you to, put that in front of more people and hopefully have a positive influence on the world. So having said that, what are my sources of confidence? I was able to come up with 4 pretty quick. There's probably more, but I'm going to talk about the 4 that really hit home with me. The first one is accomplishment, and it starts small. I remember in the 2nd grade, I got 2nd place in the entire Permian Basin, which is Midland, Odessa, and a number of the cities in that area, but for this MS Readathon. And I was in 2nd grade, and the only kid that beat me was a 6th grader. And it wasn't because I read more books than any other kid, even though, and the way it was judged is for every book you read, you got a certain amount of money depending on how many sponsors you got. And I lived in a trailer park. Most of the people were only sponsoring me like a nickel or even a penny, per book. And I remember that I looked at how the other kids, they would get people like $1, and they were only reading like 10 books. I'm like, screw that. I'm going to read hundreds of books. And I read like 150 books though. And, so these poor people that thought they were, going to be cheapskates and only give me a nickel, I ended up collecting on them. But I remember that is like a turning point. It was like, wow. I got 2nd place, and it didn't matter where I came from, and that was a big confidence booster, and it built from there. I became an Eagle Scout. I went to the United States Marine Corps. I've now developed 2 separate businesses, which are both doing very well, and things like that build your confidence up because you realize that the things, those mountains that you saw, they're actually very climbable, and you can go out and do that kind of stuff. So go out there and accomplish. Probably the biggest accomplishment now for me, and one that's very different than anything, is actually raising children who I'm very proud of. And I see how my son's doing in school, how he's one of the top readers. And it's because we spend, he's an accomplishment. Every night we spend time reading to him, not only in English, but my wife spends time reading to him in Russian and Ukrainian. I'm very proud that my children go out and they're multilingual when a lot of other kids I know can't seem to keep that, multilingual. So little things like that. I'm just very proud of that. As you can tell, I'm a gushing dad here. But so your accomplishments, that really, I think, helps with your confidence. Next is going to be history and looking at where you come from. And this is stuff that's beyond what you've done, but knowing that you come from a lineage of survivors. We all do if you look at it. We've survived generation after generation. And I'm proud of what my grandfather's accomplished. I'm proud of what my father's accomplished. He got a Bronze Star as an E3 in Vietnam. His post was overrun. So things like that, I'm very humble. And I realize I've never been in a position like that. And I'm, even though I don't necessarily get along great with my father, I respect where he comes from, and I respect his accomplishments, and things like that. You look at your history, you look at not only your family history, but you look at your ethnic history. My son, I'm very big about explaining to him the history of Ukraine. I'm not Ukrainian, but I know that that's going to be strength he'll be able to draw from the Cossacks to to the modern day changes that they're making as a young democracy. my Marine Corps, it was a group I decided to join, but one thing I was very impressed with the Marine Corps and continue to be to this day is the love of history and how we treat other Marines, because even if you're from a general down to a private, you're a Marine, and you address them as a Marine and you always show them respect. And I haven't seen that. I see other military groups, especially foreign, I don't think that there is the same respect that Marines have for each other. And a lot of that, it's because we all know our history. We all celebrate our birthday together. We all celebrate, where we started. We're very proud that we started in a bar. That's kind of ask any Marine, what tavern? And he better know. Okay, education. And I'm not talking about multiple degrees, because that's actually, I think, a very small thing. Degrees show nothing more than you can show up on time and you've got a piece of paper for putting in a certain amount of money. What I'm really proud about is that I've been able to take that knowledge and transfer it into wisdom. And that's come through a lot of experience, a lot of falling down. But my education, and I think the best education a man can get, is going out there and pushing so hard that he does fail. But you never fail for the long term if you continue to pick yourself back up. And once you know that you can continue to pick yourself back up, I mean, you can't be stopped. All right, empathy. And this is, I think, probably one of the most important ones, because this is looking at your fellow human beings, the people that, I know you're on the other side of that camera, and it may be a month from now, it may be 10 years from now that you're watching this video. And I know that you're facing the same struggles and have the same challenges that I face. And even if you're much wealthier than me, if you're much poorer than me, and that's a relative term, but really it comes down to we all live and we all face challenges in our lives. And so I have confidence because I can look at a man, whether he be a large, really big man that, is kind of intimidating, a small man, whether it be a woman who looks unapproachable. I look at all those people and I realize that they're human beings and that they have the same challenges, the same problems, the same heartaches that I do. And so I feel a very strong sense of empathy for them. And I realize that, none of us are better than the other one. None of us are worse than the other one. We're all at the same level. And knowing that, I feel very confident just being able to talk with anybody. Okay, so those are the 4 things I pull from for my confidence. I'd love to hear in the comments what gives you confidence. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.